Hi, I'm Christine McMenamin, Senior Staff Attorney at the Erie County Bar Association Volunteer Lawyers Project in Buffalo, New York. I'm here today to talk to you about the 5 key things you need to know and do if your landlord wants you to move. I've been representing tenants for the last 10 years, and I tell my clients this information. I've represented thousands of tenants, and these are the 5 key tips that you need to know because this information isn't widely known by tenants. And sometimes if you don't know this information, you can actually hurt your case in the long run. This information applies to all tenants in New York State, even though I'm in Buffalo. However, you may want to talk to your local housing attorney in case you have any questions about how it works in your area. First of all, and most important tip, do not move immediately if your landlord tells you they want you to move. Your landlord may give you a notice or tell you that they want you to move. That does not mean that you have to immediately vacate the apartment. Just so that you know, there is a process in an eviction, and it is very important that the landlord follows that process. First of all, the landlord has some notices that they have to give you and commence or begin a legal proceeding. They must commence an eviction proceeding in court before they can get you out. This is a process and it does take time. It depends on the area of New York State that you live in, but certain areas take even longer, such as New York City. In addition, if the judge does grant an eviction to the landlord, you still are entitled to an additional notice called a warrant of eviction, which gives you an additional 14 days to move. So make sure that you know when you actually have to move and don't panic just because your landlord tells you you have to go. Another tip is that the landlord cannot take matters into their own hands. The landlord must commence the eviction proceeding and cannot do things such as intimidate you, threaten you, harass you, mess with your utilities, shut them off, or lock you out. So the landlord cannot do these things called self-help in New York State. It is illegal and it is a crime. Make sure if you are experiencing any of these issues with your landlord that you contact the police, your local court, and a local housing attorney. Tip number 2, make sure that you understand the documents that you receive from your landlord or the landlord's attorney. Like I said, you might receive a lot of documents and you need to know what those documents are because this proceeding could go on for a little while and you need to know what they are and what is asked of you. So for instance, if you receive a rent demand because you owe rent, you will receive a 14-day notice from your landlord or the attorney that says you have a deadline to pay your rent or they will commence the eviction proceeding. This means that you have a deadline in which to pay to get current in your rent, and you need to know when that deadline is. You may receive a different notice that says that you've been violating your lease and that you have to correct it or they're going to proceed with an eviction. So you need to know what that violation is and what you need to do so that you don't get evicted. You also need to know the deadline. There are a lot of different notices, and if you don't understand the notice that you receive, please contact your local court or a local housing attorney. Tip number 3, gather your relevant documents. So this is really important, and it is a step that most people do, but they might not think of everything. So if you have documents that you believe are relevant to your case, you need to start gathering them immediately so that you have them ready to go in case you have a court date. Those documents could be anything, but some of the typical documents are Section 8 documents, copy of your lease, evidence of rent, payments or receipts, communication with the landlord, which could include texts or emails. Make sure you print those out because most courts will not allow you to bring your phone into the courtroom so that the judge could take a look. So make sure you're printing out texts and emails between you and the landlord or you and anyone else relevant to your court case. You may also have evidence of poor housing conditions, such as photos or inspection reports. Make sure those are also printed out so that you have them ready to go to hand to the judge if you should go to court. Tip number 4, do not miss your court date. This is really important because courts are not generally very flexible with the court date. And so you need to know when your court date is, what the time is, and you need to know that you're not able to reschedule that unless it's a true emergency. Make sure that you take the time off of work ahead of time And make sure that you have childcare lined up and backup childcare in case the first one falls through that morning, and so that you're not scrambling. Make sure that you know who to call if you do have a true emergency. So for instance, if you're in the hospital or you are very, very ill and it's a true emergency, you need to have your local court's phone number so that you can call them and let them know what's going on. The only person that can go in your place is an attorney. So make sure that you contact the court if you cannot personally appear and if you do not have an attorney. And if a friend or family member goes, just know that the court may not allow them to do anything in regards to your case. Tip number 5. There is rental assistance available generally in all areas of New York State. So make sure you understand where you can get the help. If you're behind in your rent, there are various programs, depending on when you're watching this video, available. They could be a state-run program, a local organization program, or a city or county program. The easiest way to find any sort of rent assistance is to call your local 211. 211 will be able to help you and connect you with those resources. For more information, or if you have any questions about any of this information, check out your local legal services agency, and they should be able to help you.